Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how I made this hog hand. Thank you so much for watching my videos. My name is Fummeee. If you've not subscribed, please click the red button below to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be making use of fondant. You can make use of pastelage and you can also make use of chocolate if you have that, but I had fondant readily available, so that's what I used. I just used fondant and I added a little CMC to it, or Tylose powder, whatever you have, to make it harden faster, because the softer it is, the harder it is to make. So I make use of the homemade fondant. I make my fondant myself. So if you want the recipe, please leave it in the comment below and I think I'll share it. Depends on if you want it. So the first thing you do after you've colored your fondant, I try to look at my hand. If you see, I was looking at my hand a lot because I was trying to make it in the shape of my fist. Because we're trying to make it look realistic, I guess the best picture you can use is your fist because it's going to look like your fist. I just needed to make it look more masculine. So I made it flat. After making the fondant flat, I took like my knife, my yellow knife, that's the yellow knife on the table there, and I used it to mark where my fingers are. I made the mark bigger a little bit, obviously, because, well, the hog's hand is not as tiny as my hand. So after cutting the lines, we want it to look very manly. So I made it a little bit bigger than my finger, and just used my finger as the outline. And then I cut the lines to get those shapes that I had already used my finger to outline. I cut it into four different lines, and it was just 4 different lines because you're going to put the thumb in later on, because the thumb is really big, so you can't put it at the beginning. So we're just going to make the fold and then add the thumb on top of it, because if you look at a picture of the hog's hand, that's what it looks like. So that's the reason why I made it that way. So I'm just going to smoothen out the fondant and try to make it into the shape of what I want it to be and try to mold it out. Basically, that's what I'm doing now. So I'll try to mold out the fingers, try to squeeze where I can squeeze and cut where I can cut, and mold it out to look like a finger, basically. That's all. So after molding it out, the next step, I'm going to cut out, you know, we have those lines on your finger. So I'm going to use the back of my knife or this fondant tool to cut out those lines. Not to cut them out, just to trace them out. So that when you fold the fingers, it's easy to know where to fold to. So I'm just going to create those indentations on the fondant and fold it in. You know, have like 3 lines on my. I have 3 on my fingers. I have 3 on my fingers, so that's what I'm trying to do. So I cut out those 3 lines, so that when I'm folding, can you see that's what I'm doing now? So I stand the fondant up, that's the palm, and then try to fold out with those lines that I had already outlined. So by the time I raise it up, it was easier for me to get those lines, because without those lines, when you try to fold it out, you won't be able to get it to look equal, because you know when you fold your fingers, all of them are not the same length. So when you fold it in, you get that difference in length. So now I'll just fold it in and then use my smoother to smoothen it out a little bit. While I'm folding it in, I'm looking at my fingers to make sure you see where your knuckles are, to fold. Make sure you fold that part so it looks like a finger, it looks realistic, and then cut out whatever needs to be cut out. You know, by the side of your finger you have those lines, so every detail basically on my finger I'm trying to transfer to this fondant and still make it look manly, because, well, I have a little tiny feminine finger. and then I'm going to use my edible glue to start sticking it out. Because I'm using fondant, it dries faster, so I have to work really quick to prevent it from drying out while I'm working. So that's what I'm doing. So I just create those indentations that are on the side of your finger when it's folded, and then that's what I repeat the process with the next fingers. So after cutting out and making those indentations, now I'm going to cut out a big piece of fondant to make, you know, on your palm when you fold it, you have this little big bulge at the bottom. So I'm going to cut out fondant, smoothing it out, and add it with my edible glue on the palm that I made to give it that bulk at the bottom. So I'm going to do that with my edible glue and then smoothing it out with my smoothing tool. So now I've added it. I'm also going to make out the shape of the thumb. Can you see the thumb is the last thing to add to it? After you've added that bulky side at the bottom of your palm, and then now you make the finger and add it. Can you see that the finger is really big? So that's why you can't add it at the beginning. Now after adding the finger, you use your edible glue to add it and stick it on your palm. And then you keep smoothing it out so that you get that shape to look really nice and smooth. Then I'm going to take my toothpick. You can either use your toothpick or a skewer or whatever you have that has like a sharp end, and use it to detail where the finger will be. So I just cut out the finger because obviously the Hulk doesn't have pink girly fingernails like mine, so I had to make like masculine looking fingers. I was obviously using my hands and also using a picture to make sure whatever I did looks realistic to me. That's what I'm still doing. So I'm still trying to make the knuckles on the Hulk's hand and every indentation, transferring it into this. So now as you can see, I'm adding the fingers, the tiny fingernails, because the Hulk has this really tiny fingernails. So I'm adding that to the hand now. just smoothing it out and using my tool to actually make sure the detail comes out by the time it's dry. So after doing that, I keep smoothing it out. Those areas that I think still need a little help to make it look realistic, I just keep smoothing them out, pressing them out. So you have to take your time, you can't rush it. You have to take your time. I made this like 3 days before I had to put it on the cake to allow it to dry. So you have to take your time to make it. After making it, you have to let it sit and dry. So I keep smoothing it out. Another advantage of the edible glue is that when I apply it, it makes that area soft, so I can use my tool to smoothen it out and blend it. So I blend the areas where I added extra fondant so that you don't see those lines of where they're added. It just looks like it came in one piece that way. So that's what I'm doing now. So after making it, and I think I've done it to make it look as realistic as possible, I take my skewers. I need those skewers, about 3 or 4, and I put them at the bottom. The reason why I put those skewers is so that I can put this hand on a styrofoam, because it has to dry in this, it has to dry upright. So I put the skewer, it has to dry because it has to dry upright, and also because I'm going to have to stick it into the cake. So these skewers are going to act like the support to make sure that when I put it in the cake, it doesn't shake during delivery and all that. So I'm going to put the skewers, and then I'm going to use those skewers to put it into the styrofoam. As you can see now, I've already made it. So I put it into the styrofoam and I make it stand and then perfect it on the styrofoam. Because the styrofoam basically is like my dummy cake. That's what my cake is going to look like. So I just try to make it look as nice as I would want it to look on the styrofoam before I leave it to dry. So after smoothing and just trying to arrange, it looks as nice as I would want it to look. So I just leave it in my heated cupboard, or you can just leave it out. I use a heated cupboard because it helps it dry faster to me. So I just left it in my heated cupboard for about 3 days and then made the cake. Obviously this is the so after a couple of days, I make the cake, I stack it up. So the hand is the final thing to go on top of the cake after stacking it up. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was helpful to you. Please leave a comment in the comment section below to let me know what you think. Bye.